Tojima Wants to Be a Kamen Rider is a show airing in the current fall 2025 season that you probably haven't heard a lot about. For me personally, I feel like I've seen tidbits of the show's concept floating around for a few months, but haven't actually heard anything concrete pertaining to the series itself. Well, to my surprise, the show is here. Would you look at that? Wow. To give some context here, I have no history of watching any Kamen Rider media. The closest I've gotten was probably Power Rangers when I was younger, and somehow I feel like that statement may be very controversial. Anyways, while this series is probably full of references and such that Kamen Rider fans will love, I myself went in with no frame of reference. I'm viewing the show with some fresh eyes, baby. With my distinct lack of knowledge and expectations, the only way we could go was up, and up we went, albeit on a more gradual ascent, rather than straight up to the top if you catch my drift. But before I get too into what I think of the show so far, let me give you a little breakdown of what Tojima Wants to Be a Kamen Rider is all about. We open following our main character, Tojima Tanzaburo, a 40-year-old man who's currently in the middle of the woods, punching trees to show him who's really boss. Not even a minute in, we jump straight into his backstory. No beating around the bush, just giving us context right away. If the title wasn't a dead giveaway, Tojima has loved Kamen Rider ever since he was a child. Throughout his whole life, he's aspired to be the hero he saw on TV, mimicking their actions and training well into adulthood. As we saw in the first scene, we see him at 3 major stages in his life: his childhood, his teenage years, and finally in the present day. During his childhood, we see him directly watching Kamen Rider media, seeing the iconic pose being struck, and seeing him barely contain his excitement for the show. We then jump ahead to his teenage years, where we see him being talked down to and bullied by his peers at school. Despite this, he doesn't really let it get to him, going to his little spot by the river, where he normally practices his Kamen Rider poses and catchphrases, of course. Here, he encounters even more bullies, but this time from a different school. They pick a fight with him and get straight whooped, really hammering home that he hasn't been practicing this Kamen Rider stuff for nothing. Before we get much time to process this, we cut to the next day. The same bullies that he just beat up recruited like 20 more people and are in front of his school so they can jump Tojima. I guess the previous day's embarrassing display has been weighing on them heavily. Tojima gives a big speech in a very dramatic fashion and then gets the shit kicked out of him. I'm gonna be honest, at this point, it was not looking too good for our main man here. But worry not. He gets up and lets everyone know that he's going to unleash his power. His shirt comes off and we see that he has a Kamen Rider belt tattoo. Okay. And then he starts posing and making motorcycle noises. Okay. Getting kinda hard to defend him here. But believe it or not, it works. He packs up the entire group of students. We then cut back to the present day, Tojima making it abundantly clear that he's aware of his delusions, that none of this is real, but that he still wants to believe, and will keep training to reach his dream of being a Kamen Rider. After reaffirming his beliefs to the heavens, a bear stumbles upon Tojima. I mean, he is in the middle of the woods, I guess. And in a moment that serves no other purpose than to show us how strong our MC is, he beats the bear's ass too. No one is safe from this man. Jesus Christ. After yet another first episode beatdown, we cut to Tojima selling off all his Kamen Rider collectibles. The reason for doing so is pretty unclear, whether it's because he lacks money to keep going or because him turning 40 was some sort of cutoff for him. Regardless, he's alone in an empty apartment now. While laying on the floor just browsing his phone, he comes across an article covering a new string of robberies in his area. The peculiar thing is that these robberies have been committed by people wearing Shocker combatant masks, Shocker being the villain from Kamen Rider. With this, a faint hope sparks within our MC, and then burns out, as he realizes that these are probably just normal people wearing masks, not some mythical villain cronies. Thus, his day-to-day life resumes. He goes to work, comes home, sees more news regarding the crimes, and repeats. That is, until the day of a local festival. Tojima attends the festival to get some food and pass the time. It's while eating this food that something happens. The Shocker robbers show up to the food stall he's sitting right next to. It's confirmed to us that these are indeed regular people just committing organized crimes. But for Tojima, this inciting incident is enough for him to finally live some semblance of his dream. Realizing it's his time to shine, he goes and buys a Kamen Rider mask that's a little bit too small for his face. And with tears in his eyes, physically shaking, he approaches the robbers. After some back and forth, he lets them know just how serious he is. While bawling his eyes out, he hits them with his Rider Punch, his signature move. Needless to say, all 3 robbers get bodied. The whole interaction having been recorded by bystanders. Tojima runs off, and our first episode comes to an end, leaving us with some questions. Is there something more to Tojima's obsession with Kamen Rider? Are these Shocker robberies truly a coincidence? But for now, that's an introduction to Tojima Wants to Be a Kamen Rider. Alright. I know that was a whole lot, but if I'm being honest, I'm here for it. I was incredibly surprised by just how much I've been enjoying this show so far. Episode 1 is a great introduction to Tojima as a character, and establishes the tone of the show incredibly well. However, I do think the show really starts to shine when you get a couple episodes in and some even crazier shit starts happening. The first episode undoubtedly had a breakneck pace, cramming in an entire backstory and even making room for some lookism-esque teen gang violence. But in my opinion, all of this felt pretty necessary to set us up for the rest of the season. Tojima Wants to Be a Kamen Rider is, at a baseline, a unique and interesting premise that plays into all the cheesy tropes you would expect it to, without sacrificing the most important aspects of making a good show. Something that's specifically done well is the characterization of our main cast. Every character introduced thus far has felt very distinct, which may seem like a bare minimum requirement, but it can be very easy to fall into a cycle of introducing the same character reskinned over and over again. The individuality being put on display here makes me want to see what happens next. I want to see how all of these separate plots tie in and come to their conclusions. Now, while I have been thoroughly enjoying the show thus far, I do have a single question. Why in God's name is every main character that's a woman so stacked? Like, oh my god, back pain central up in here. I can't tell if it's a part of a bit or if the creator was just into certain aspects of women. Oh god. There's only been 2 female MCs introduced at this point in time, so I can't say for certain that this is how it's gonna be in the entire show, but I'm just saying I'm on high alert now. Unnecessary fan service definitely hinders my enjoyment of certain shows, so we're on some thin ice here. I guess we'll have to see if this show gets more egregious as time goes on, or if it just rides the line. But as it stands now, I think we're okay. With surprisingly good animation and a show that's as charming as it is nostalgic, Tojima Wants to Be a Kamen Rider is a standout show of the current fall 2025 season. It can be hard for a series to truly distinguish itself from its competitors. Originality is scarce in modern anime. The same tropes can be found recycled over and over again. And while this show is certainly not perfect, I think it's most definitely worth a shot. If I, as someone who knows nothing about Kamen Rider, can enjoy the show, then so can you. You don't need to have any pre-established context beyond what's being portrayed here, but if you do, I'm sure the show will be full of nostalgic moments, enhancing the experience even further. If any of what I've described to you thus far sounds interesting, then check this show out. I think you'll like what you find. Hey everyone, I just want to say thank you if you made it this far into the video. I really appreciate it. Do you agree with my take that Tojima Wants to Be a Kamen Rider might be the sleeper hit of the season? Or do you think it's just run-of-the-mill trash? Be sure to let me know what you think in the comments down below. I read them all. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe if you want to see more stuff like this. And as always, have a great day.